Alright, what is up you guys, and welcome back to the Progressive Skills in English Level 3 coursebook. In this video, we're going to be going over the writing section for Theme 4. So let's dive right in. Here we have Exercise A, Building Background Knowledge. So discuss the questions in pairs or groups. What are some of the uses of social media or social networking? Which sites are popular in your country? And how important is social media in the lives of young people today in your country? What about older people? Okay, so I'm going to answer all three of these questions together, but I want you guys to have a guess, and I want you to talk about social media in general. Okay, so I'll just say mine first. So what are some uses we could use? We have a lot of uses for social media nowadays. I mean, you have Instagram for photo sharing, YouTube for video and music sharing, Twitter for publishing and sharing short texts, as you guys see. You know, we have the famous WhatsApp for messaging and video sharing as well. Facebook, that's a great way for networking and advertising. You have Google for internet search engine. Well, it is an internet search engine and an email service. You have something also called Tumblr, which is a multimedia sharing and blog hosting. So all of these are different social media, and they have a lot of uses. So which sites are popular in your country? I'll probably say Instagram, YouTube, you know, the usual, WhatsApp, Facebook. These are, the most famous where I live. Anyway, or most popular, really, not famous. Okay, so B, building vocabulary. Desmond is 80. Wow. He has written to his granddaughter, Selena, who is studying in another country. What is he telling her about, and which social media application has replaced each activity he mentions? For example, putting photos in an album could be something like Pinterest or Instagram. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to read this essay really quickly, and then we'll talk about which social media application has replaced the activities that he used to do when he was much younger. So, hi, how are you? Now, stop looking at your FaceTube or whatever it's called and read this letter. You asked me about life before smartphones and so on, and I'm going to tell you. In my day, young people took photographs with cameras and put them in an album. Once upon a time, people wrote about their daily lives in diaries, and they kept them a secret, or they kept them secret. If you saw or heard something funny, you told your friends about it later. In conversation, do you actually have conversations now? At one time, young people used to send long letters to friends and family, like this one. It took ages to get a reply. I remember that kids also spent hours on the telephone, and it cost their parents a fortune, and if they fell out with a friend, they just stopped calling them. If I liked the song, I lent the record to my friend so he could listen to it. There are no records now. So what do? But one thing is not new. Networking. Business people have always networked, but they used to do it at social events like parties and conferences. Write and tell me, what do you do now? Maybe I can have a go. Okay, what an interesting old man. Okay, so based on what we just read, we're going to have to find a social media application that replaced some of the activities that this fine gentleman said. So let's start with the first one here, where he says, in my day, young people took photographs with cameras and put them in an album. This one is pretty simple. We'll say Instagram right away. You guys know this. Let's keep going. Once upon a time, people wrote about their daily lives in diaries, and they kept them secret. So this is basically blogger, right? You're blogging your life, or you're blogging about something in your daily life. If you saw or heard something funny, you told your friends about it later in conversation. Now, you could say that this is YouTube, right? A lot of funny videos on YouTube. Also the same concept, just a little bit different. At one time, young people used to send long letters to friends and family, like this one. I remember that kids also spent hours on the telephone, and it cost parents a fortune. Okay, so this is basically just texting and waiting for calls and stuff like that. So we'll say WhatsApp, Skype, Discord, if you guys know what that is, Facebook. All of these are means for online chatting, texting, and calling. Networking. Business people have always networked, but they used to do it at social events like parties and conferences. Now, I believe that this hasn't changed. Like, people still do that, and they go outside just to network with people, and they go to certain places just to start networking. And it's not necessarily only for business people, but it has improved a ton with the addition of social media, because now you can go to places where people have similar interests, so you're not going in sort of blind, if you know what I mean. And also the addition of LinkedIn and other social media like Twitter make that process a lot easier as well. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's take a look at the vocab box here. Here we have blog, chat room, homepage, pin, share, Skype, tweet, friend or unfriend, like and unlike, upload and wall. Okay, what do we have here? So imagine you've received a letter above from an elderly relative. Write a reply. Use words and phrases from the vocab box. Okay, so imagine if you got a letter just like this one. You want to reply, right? So make sure I want you guys to write one. This is pretty simple. You don't have to write one as long as this one, maybe half or something like that, but just write something, okay? And try and use words from the vocab box. So things like Skype, chat room, homepage, blog, all of these, we use these literally daily. So just write a small letter, right? Replying, a quick reply to, your imaginary elder. All right, now let's move on to exercise A here. Read the assignment. What kind of essay is required? Tick the correct one. Okay, so let's take a look at the assignment here. Social media has improved the lives of young people. True or false? Research social media and decide whether you agree or disagree with the statement above. Then write an essay to get other people to accept your point of view. Okay, so from what I can understand, this is a persuasive essay, right? So you're gonna pick a side, basically, whether it's true or false, and then you're gonna reach a personal conclusion after making your own research, as you can see here. Okay, so we'll tick persuasive here. Okay, and then we'll research about social media, and you can decide whether you agree or disagree. Right, so do you agree or disagree with the statement? Okay, so obviously I've done a little bit of research about this. So social media has improved the lives of young people. I would say yes, but in an essay like persuasive, you can't just say yes, right, without giving evidence and why you think so. So you have to it's literally in the name, the word persuasive, to persuade someone. Okay, so for my evidence as to why I think social media has improved the lives of young people is because of meeting like-minded individuals, having like-minded interests, talking to people that have basically the same mindset as you. Now, you won't find these in all of social media, but the fact that social media has made it so much easier for young people to communicate, whether it be talking about education, video games, TV shows, anything really. Like, you can find friends online much easier than you can find them in real life. That's just my personal opinion. Also, besides the fact that social media has offered young people a place to showcase their talents. Some people have natural talents for being funny or being charismatic, and places like YouTube and Instagram have allowed them to use these skills that they naturally have to make money or endorsements and stuff like that. So in my opinion, social media has definitely improved the lives of young people. All right, now let's go to exercise B. Look at the essay on the opposite page. All the sentences are grammatically correct and there are no misspellings, but there are other problems with the essay. Can you find any of them? Okay, so what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to read this and just know everything grammatically is correct. However, there's a big problem with this essay. So I want you to pause the video right now and read it and tell me, or not tell me, think of what might be the problem in an essay like this. Okay, so now I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with it, but I hope you paused the video and you were able to at least find some of the problems. Okay, so let's start with the obvious thing here, and that is there's no essay title. So some people forget that you gotta give this essay a title. Okay, so whether that's social media or the advantages and disadvantages of social media, whatever, you just gotta have a title in there. Okay, one thing that should be written right after the essay title is you should give an interesting fact along with the introduction just to get the reader's attention. Okay, so an interesting fact, especially about something like social media, would be nice. Okay, so you guys see the word social media here. So in this essay, I will discuss social media and young people. You gotta define the term social media in itself. You know, it's a very broad term, so you should define the term. Okay, now let's go on to here. We have more problems. So it only began in 2003. When Facebook was launched in 2004, the site became a worldwide sensation. In just 2 years, it became the #1 social media site. Okay, so how do you know this, right? You gotta give evidence. So are you sure? Who says it? Okay, so you gotta give evidence to what you're saying, especially since you want to persuade us to change our point of view, right? As someone that maybe doesn't like social media, you gotta give evidence as to why Facebook became the worldwide sensation. I know it's famous, but in just 2 years, you gotta give me evidence, okay? You gotta give me facts and not just something that you made up. I use social media all the time, and I think it is fantastic for young people. Again, this is something that is emotional. I don't care about your emotions. I'm sticking to my point of view. So you don't talk about your own feelings in a persuasive essay, okay? You give a point of view, which is yours, and then you give evidence as to why it is correct, okay? So don't be emotional. Okay, so firstly, young people have hundreds or even thousands of friends if they use social media. Well, first of all, you need a topic sentence here to introduce this paragraph right here. Okay, one more thing is you gotta support, like I said, your thesis with facts about the number of users, as we'll see here. So have hundreds or even thousands of friends. So again, you gotta give me more facts about the number of users on Facebook. Even add a quote or something from someone that works at Facebook. Again, like I said, this is a persuasive essay, so I'm trying to persuade someone to change their point of view. All right, what else? Also there are other. Finally, young people work together on educational topics through social media. Again, you need to support these statements that you're making. If you're talking about how teenagers use it for educational purposes, that's not what I see. So, as someone that has an opposite point of view, I'm gonna judge this right away. So, you need to give me support for these statements or give me facts. Okay. Also, one more thing is you need to write a conclusion. As you can see, some people say that most users have negative experiences like cyberbullying, but I don't think this is true. Okay, again, not facts. This is something that you just made up. The fact that you said I don't think doesn't mean anything, honestly. So you need to give, again, facts. So overall, this essay is missing title, missing a lot of facts, right? Overall, if this was an essay to persuade me, I would say no right away. Again, it's missing a conclusion. You don't give your opinion. So your opinion here is all over the place, which is not too good for you, and you're not including facts. All right, now let's move on. What do we have here? Turn to page 171, read the tutor's comments, check your understanding with a partner. So reading the tutor's comments is basically very similar to what I just talked about. So if you go to page 171, you'll have similar notes to what I just said, needing a title, conclusions, all the missing stuff here. So you can go check it out. What else do we have? Doing research. Which comments need research? Make a list of research questions. Okay, so like we said, which comments here actually need some research? Okay, like you actually need research to find whether it's a fact or not. Look at the research information under the essay on the opposite page. Find answers to your research questions. Okay, so based on what we just read, some research questions could be, what is an interesting fact about social media? Just to get the reader's attention, like I said. We could also ask questions like, when did social media actually begin? What is the history of Facebook, right? So when did it start? How did it grow very quickly? All of these are facts that can persuade me as someone that has an opposite point of view. All of these questions need research. How many friends does the average person have on Facebook? How do people use social media? So do they get in touch with people with similar interests? Does it help with creativity? Do they work on educational topics? And finally, how serious is cyberbullying? All of these need research. So if you go down here, we have some answers for some of the questions that I just asked. So what is an interesting fact about social media? Something to get the reader's attention. Look at this. 12 new active mobile social users are added every second. That's 1 million per day. This is, I'd say, pretty interesting, just to get someone hooked on what you're about to say. Okay? When did social media begin? We'll say in 2001, Fotolog, Skyblog, and Friendster were launched, and in 2003, MySpace, LinkedIn, Lastfm, all of these old social media websites. So as you can see, this is good research, right? It's stating when it happened exactly, and you can go do your own research as well if you want. What else do we have? What is the history of Facebook? Do we have one here? That enable users. Yeah, I don't think we have Facebook, but it's really similar. It's close by here. So in 2004, popular names like Facebook Harvard, which is what it started as, and then it moved on. So we have a little bit of an answer here. What else do we have? How many friends does the average person have on Facebook? We'll say half of all users have more than 200 friends. Okay, so that is again pretty interesting. How do people use social media? So how do they get in touch with people through similar interests? We'll say, yeah, so similar interests, they talk about education topics, as you can see here. More talk specifically about schoolwork. Okay, so that is based on a study, so I cannot argue with this because it is a fact. All right, what else? How serious is cyberbullying? So if you can see here, again, a study made in 2007, 43% of teens aged 13 to 17 report that they have experienced some sort of cyberbullying in the past years. So again, I can't argue with this, and this just proves that the whole thing that he said that some people say that most users have negative experiences like cyberbullying, but I don't think this is true. This is incorrect and false, because if I do a little bit of research, I can see that from teens have experienced at least some sort of cyberbullying. Okay? Now let's move on. Here we have rewrite the essay. Okay, so this is pretty simple. You're going to rewrite this whole thing, but make sure that you, like everything that we touched upon, do that instead. So instead of start with giving a title, make sure your things are organized, your topics, your points of view, and use persuasive methods like we said. So do your own research, or actually, oh wow, I did not mean to do that. How do I bring this back? Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, you could use the research here to include it into your essay. Okay? Now let's move on. What else do we have? I think that's about it. I think that's about it. F is really similar to what we've been doing for the past 3 exercises. So let's take a look at the vocab box. We have age group, cyberbullying, emotional language, exist, get in touch with, interact, launch, negative, sensation, to a great extent. Okay. And I think that's about it for now. Let's move on to the next part. Alright guys, so now let's move on to the second part of this writing section. Let's dive right in. Here we have exercise A, building background knowledge. So discuss the questions in groups. So when did you last persuade someone to do something, and how did you do it? Like we said, we're still talking about persuasion here. So how did you persuade someone? So for me, or not for me, just in general, to get people to do something, you could ask very nicely, you could keep on asking, or simply bribe them. I know it's weird, but some people actually do this. You give people money so they can do you. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, just keep going. A2, how do you persuade someone to agree with your point of view, and do you do it in a different way? Well, generally speaking, to get people to agree with your point of view, it's not easy, but it is possible. You just need like really good evidence and not personal experience, as we saw in the previous essay. Okay, so bring hard, concrete evidence or facts, and you're most likely going to win the other person's trust in terms of point of view and such. Now let's go to exercise B. Read skills check 1. What is the writing plan for a persuasive essay? Okay, so in one type of essay, writers try to persuade readers to their point of view, or that their point of view is correct. So social media is a positive influence for integration of different cultures around the world. True or false? Research the topic and decide whether you agree or disagree with the statement, and present a persuasive argument in favor of your opinion. So how would you go about writing something like this? So the writing plan for a persuasive essay is real simple. You're going to start with an introduction. Also, give a definition of the term that you're talking about. So if we're talking about social media here, give a simple definition of what social media is. And then give your thesis statement. Okay, and then state 2 points in favor as to why you think your opinion or your point of view is correct. Also add facts, okay? And why it is not so good. So you have points 1 and 2 as well for against. And then don't forget to give a conclusion. So just because your point of view is that social media is good doesn't mean that social media is not, doesn't have bad aspects to it, because we all know it does. So talk about the things that you are against as well, and then give a conclusion. Now, do note that some writers give 1 or more points against the thesis. This is not necessary in my personal opinion, but it makes you look better in terms of someone else when someone has a different point of view, because you're winning their hearts by saying that, hey, I know these are bad as well, and that is something that we can agree on. But overall, I see that the advantages are much better than the disadvantages. Okay, and that is what you should write in the conclusion. Right, how many points are there in the essay in lesson 4.10? That is the previous essay that I think you guys wrote a better one now. Which is the strongest point? So if we go back, pretty sure you guys wrote a better one by now. We'll say something like, here you go. So they get in touch with people with similar interests. For me, that is the strongest point of social media. That is, for me, the best part about social media, and that is getting to know people that have are like-minded or have very similar interests to you. Okay, that is the strongest points for me. Is there a point against, and what is it, and is it a strong point? Why or why not? For me, in the previous essay, the strong, the point against, yeah. So the point against for me will have to be cyberbullying, simply because it's a big deal. So personally, I think that it is a big point against for social media. Cyberbullying is a big deal, and we should treat it as such. Anyway, let's keep going. By the way, oh yeah, I think I forgot about this. How many points, this question right here. So how many points are there in the previous essay that we talked about? We had 4 points, by the way. Okay, so 2 in favor and 2 against. 4 points, and I chose similar interests as the strongest one for me personally. You can choose your own, but that was the strongest one for me. Let's take a look at C, practicing a new skill now. We have now seen 4 different types of essay. Study the titles below and answer which type of essay is required in each case, and make a list of points to include in each essay. Okay, so let's take a look. So students waste a lot of time on social media. True or false? This is a persuasive essay. We're going to talk and we're going to persuade the other person as to why we have the point of view that we have. Okay? B, conduct a survey to find out how teenagers in your country spend their free time. This is a simple research report. Okay? How can we prevent global warming? Again, we're going to be discussion or for and against, as we talked about before. And finally, should teachers set homework? This is giving an argument. Okay, you're going to argue in your favor. Right. Now let's move on to exercise D, identifying a new skill 2. The grammar of this sentence is correct. So what is wrong with this sentence in a persuasive essay? So as you guys know, this sentence is correct. So nothing is wrong with it grammatically, but in a persuasive essay, I think there might be a problem. So let's take a look at it. Young people learn about other cultures through social media. Okay, so as we said before, you can't just give your opinions. It's actually written here as well, skills check 2. You cannot just give your opinion in an essay. You must have support for whatever statement you provide with. You have to back it up with evidence and research and facts, okay? So here we have some facts here. So quote from an expert in the field, as Johnson 2014 says, social media opens a window on the world for many young people. I can't argue with this. Give the results of high quality research in the area. So something like, according to Smith 2015, 32% of young people have social media friends from other countries. So giving statistics from reliable sources help to persuade your readers of the truth of your argument, thus highly improving your chances of changing their point of view and winning the argument. Okay? Now let's take a look at the vocab box. Bully, character, letter or number, dismiss, event, in favor, persuasive, positive, and result. Okay? What else do we have? Okay, so here we have E, practicing a new skill 2. What evidence do you need to support these statements? All right, so let's take a look at this statement below. Most young people only have friends from their own culture. Okay, well, I'm going to read all of them and then I'm going to combine them. I think that would be better. So, Facebook does not exist in most countries. People are often rude on social media to people from other countries. Okay, so it's pretty simple. You guys can use your own answers, but you should generally expect them or the writers to include research data, sample friendship tests, lists maybe, information from internet usage surveys, surveys of social media users, news reports, also possibly crime statistics as well. So all of these should be added to support the following statements. Right, so now let's move on to exercise F here. We have identifying a new skill. Find the two parts of each sentence below. So if you can see, here we have two sentences, but it actually consists of two different parts. Now let's move over to the skills check so we can talk a little bit more about what this is. So we can join two full sentences about events and results with the adverbs when or if. Okay, so the main concept here is that we can join two full sentences together about events and results using the adverbs when or if. Okay, so some young people use social media. That is just a simple event, right? Some young people use social media. These young people get in touch with people with similar interests. This is the result of young people being on social media. So if I want to add these two together, I'll say when young people use social media, they get in touch with people with similar interests. So as you can see, I use the word when in the beginning. Young people use social media. They get in touch with people with similar interests. Now, keep in mind, we don't have to use it in the beginning, and we'll see that in a second below. So let's try one more. So we have some young people use social media, again, an event. And these young people have hundreds or even thousands of friends. That is a result. So let's take a look at the example. If we're going to add these two sentences together, we'll say, if young people use social media, they have hundreds or even thousands of friends. But do note that the words when and if have the same meaning in this case. So if you use when or if, in this case, they mean the same exact thing. We can give the two pieces of information in either order. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So the event doesn't have to come first. You could always start with the result and then say the event. However, you gotta change the position of the words or the adverbs when or if. So let's take a look down here. We have young people get in touch with people with similar interests. Remember, this was the result, as you can see up top. When, so I used when in the middle now, they use social media. One more. Young people have hundreds or even thousands of friends if they use social media. I used if in the middle because I switched. So it doesn't have to be in any particular order. Just know that you're going to have to change the position of the adverb itself. All right, so now let's take a look at exercise G using when and if. Complete the sentences with the appropriate ending. So 1, you can unfriend someone if, again, what I want you guys to know is you can write these on your own. Okay, so there's no magic formula here. I'm going to write my own now, but I want you to do your own and then check your answers with me. Okay, so 1, you can unfriend someone if, I'll probably say something like, if you don't like them. Okay, so you can unfriend someone if you don't like them. 2, when you join Facebook, we'll say you can add people instantly. Okay? 3, if you have a problem with an assignment, we'll say you can ask the teacher for help. Okay, so if you have a problem with an assignment, you can ask the teacher for help. 4, you can only use 140 characters when, this is pretty simple, so we'll say you can only use 140 characters when you use Twitter. Twitter, the social media app. I'm pretty sure you guys know what Twitter is. Anyway, let's keep going. 5, if you spend all your time on social media, this is a good one. We'll say if you spend all your time on social media, you might start feeling self-conscious, right? So when you try to compare your body or what you do to others, it's not a good thing. So that is what it means to be self-conscious. So if you spend all your time on social media, you might start feeling self-conscious. Okay? 6, young people should not give too much personal information when, we'll simply say they use social media. So young people should not give too much personal information when they use social media. All right? So now let's move on to the next part. All right, you guys, so now let's move on to the final part of this writing section. Here we have exercise A. We're going to be writing 2 essays. So building background knowledge, how does the girl in the picture feel, why, and what is she doing on the computer? Well, it looks like she's annoyed maybe, probably watching like a boring documentary or something. So we'll say that she's bored, right? Probably watching something boring, and what is she doing on the computer? Probably watching something boring. Anyway, let's keep going. Exercise B. Look at the assignment. What do you understand by the term social isolation? This one hits home, guys. The whole corona thing. Anyway, here we have assignment. Social media causes social isolation in young people. True or false? Research the topic, then write an essay giving your point of view based on your research. Okay, so first of all, what is social isolation? Like we know, or now that everybody knows because we've all practiced it for the last 3 months, social isolation is when you basically stop going outside. Okay, so you stop being social at all. You stop having a social life, basically. You just sit at home all day for the most part. Okay, so that is social isolation, basically isolating yourself from the outside world. Okay, so what type of essay must you write? First of all, you got to understand what this is. We're going to be writing a persuasive essay, right? We want to persuade the other party to our point of view. So you got to have your own point of view before you start writing. So social media causes social isolation in young people. Is that true or is it false? Well, for me personally, I'd say it is false, but you might disagree. So for me, I'm now going to write a persuasive essay, after I do my own research about the topic and why I think, social media does not cause social isolation in young people with research and giving proof as to why my point of view is the way it is, okay? The whole point of a persuasive essay is to get the other party to understand and hopefully change their point of view to yours as well, okay? So you can't have a persuasive essay without defining terms and stating research about what you're saying. So let's take a look at C here, writing a persuasive essay. Write an essay based on the research. So remember, you got to do research before you start writing your persuasive essay. You'll start by writing a thesis statement, right? Define terms. So like the term here, social isolation. Remember when we talked in the previous lesson, the writing on the previous lesson, we talked about how different essays have different points that you have to highlight. Well, this is one of them. Okay, so you have to define the terms. Use paragraphs with topic sentences and don't let your emotions get in the way. So don't use emotional words or phrases. So don't say things like, I think it's good, I think I like it, this, that. Don't use emotions, okay? Support your statements with quotes and or research study evidence. This is really important. So you got to support what you're saying by backing it up with quotes, either from important people or research from actual scientists, okay, or researchers. Give references for the quotes and research studies. Okay, this is also important. So you got to give reference to who you're quoting, right? Or who, from which, or how did you get your research? So for example, if a certain company or a certain university did research on a specific topic, you got to quote that university and the year that the research was conducted, okay? And finally, if you guys remember, we talked about using when and if, right, to join two sentences together. Like we said, where was it? It was right here. Using complex sentences and joining two false sentences together using the adverbs when and if. Okay, so pretty simple. Now let's move on. You guys can write the essay here, by the way. So this part, again, it's literally the exact same thing. We're going to be writing another essay, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. So A, activating ideas, discuss the questions. Okay, so these are simple questions. Again, it'll be up to you as a student, so I'll answer this up to me. So do you check social media while you are studying? That would be a yes. Unfortunately, yes. It does happen sometimes. You know, sometimes you get a new message, you want to check it out. So yes, I'd say that I do check social media when studying or preparing for a video for you guys. 2, if so, does it help you to spend more time in your studies or does it distract you? Personally, I think that social media is a distraction in this scenario. So yes, it does distract me. If it distracts you, do you actually turn off devices while you are doing assignments? No, I don't. I don't turn off devices. I don't turn off any of my devices, like, except rarely when I have to like restart or something. But there's one important thing, and that is I put my phone on mute. So I hate the fact that when I want to focus on something, like if my phone's blowing up, you know, friends talking on a group or something, I don't like that. So what I would do is, instead of turning off the whole device, I just either mute the group or mute the whole phone. But it's usually, you know, convenience wise, I just mute the whole phone and yeah, I just leave it be. Okay, now let's go to exercise B. Gathering and recording information. Divide into 3 groups. Study the assignment on the right and write research questions, and then do research on the internet. So it looks like we're going to be doing another persuasive essay here. Assignment. Social media is a major distraction for students. True or false? For me, I'd say this is true. I actually agree with this one right here. Research the topic, but like I said, remember, I can't just say I think, because who cares about me? I have to research the topic, research the topic and give quotes, right? Bring quotes into the mix, bring actual research into the mix, and try to get the other party to agree with my point of view. So what y'all are going to do is you're going to research the topic, then write an essay giving your point of view based on your research, okay? Don't ever use your emotions, like we said, okay? So exercise D, write a persuasive essay, okay? If you have a student, you guys can exchange essays and check it out. If it's better, worse, why not? And if you missed any of the necessities that are here, so whether defining terms, using paragraphs with topic sentences, any of that stuff, rewrite it and try to improve it, okay? So this was the writing section, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.